Hello and welcome. This is the fourth part of the Write Clean Code in JavaScript series. In this video, I will be talking about writing comments in JS. If you wish to check out my previous videos, you should see them on my channel. I talked about variables, objects, and functions. First principle, and I think the most important one, is to avoid adding unnecessary comments to your code. If your code is readable, it will not require any extra comments. You should only comment things that have business logic complexity. This will help keep your code base clean and easy to understand. As a bad example, I'll create a dummy hashing function, and as I go, I'll add comments to it. So here I'm specifying my hash variable, which has default value set to 0. Then below that, I'm specifying length of the data, and as well, I'm going to add unnecessary comment above that, length of string. Then below, I'm going to loop through that data with some random functionality to make the hash, and as a return, I'll be converting hash to a 30-bit integer. And apologies, I'm just creating a bunch of typos here. Should be using semicolons instead. Yeah, but finally made it through. First variable, I'm going to add this const char equals data dot char code at index, and this is basically going to be used to get the character code. Below that, I'm specifying hash by adding some random calculations to it, and as a return, I'm gonna add function that converts hash to 32 bits integer. Obviously, this is all made up, so please do not hash your data that way. And also, I'll be adding some comments to each variable. So above the loop, I'm just going to add loop through every character in data, which is also unnecessary because we all know what loop does. And above the const char, I'm going to add get character code, which should be obvious as well. Here I'm going to add a comment called make hash, and below that, I'm going to add a comment saying convert to 32-bit integer. This is an example of bad approach, just bunch of stuff that is not needed here. So below, I'm going to copy and paste the same function and remove the unnecessary comments. So out of all of these, I think the only one to remain is where I'm saying that this part converts hash to 32-bit integer. So remember, I'll say it once more. Only comment when it's really necessary, and if your variable or function says what it does, then the comments are not needed. And by the way, if you like my videos, please comment, like, and subscribe. That really motivates me to create more free content for you guys. So this is done. I'm only left with one comment in that function. Next up, avoid adding journal comments. There is a reason why Git introduced git log, which brings up the changes history. Despite that, sometimes in the code base, you might see a weird change log with dates saying when something was changed. So as an example of bad approach, I will just start adding some comments with random dates and descriptions. So as the most recent one, I will say that there was a piece that removed conditions as they were not needed. Then before that, I'm gonna say I've added the conditions. Then before that, fixed not a number value issue. Okay, and as the first comment, added multiply values function. And below that, I'm just gonna add a random multiply values function. So function multiple values. And as arguments, I'm going to pass A and B, and then return A multiply B. This all can be avoided. Like, we've added 4 lines of code just to keep history in the comments. So in your terminal, you could just type in git log, and you'll see what has been changed and when. And just to stay consistent, I'm gonna show you a good example of that. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that function, and if needed, use git log instead. Next up, sometimes in a code base you might witness these weird positional markers. And what I mean by that, it's usually a bunch of forward slashes with a short description in it. Firstly, by using these markers, you are creating a lot of mess in your code. And secondly, it is most likely an unnecessary comment. So as a bad approach, I've added slashes with initial car object comment. And below, I'm going to specify that object. So const car, curly braces, and then color, red string, and production year, let's say 2022. And as a second example, as well, bad, I'm gonna create an update car function, and below that I'm gonna add a function, so const update car, fat arrow, and some random code in there. This all can be avoided. Like I said previously, functions should say what they do. Just to be consistent, as a good example, I would just copy these functions without the positional markers and comments. And this is what we want. And I guess that's all about writing comments in JavaScript. This is the last part of the series. Thank you for watching.